Alrighty, welcome traders. It is technically this is the 12th of this January, but this is the January 11th recap for the Income Navigator account. And I wanted to just jump in. We'll go quickly through the markets. S&P closed at 47.80 on the session, down just fractionally. We can see here on SPY, we're still getting into a tighter and tighter and tighter squeeze. I did turn the Bollinger Bands on the other day just to show that. You can see the gray lines here as these Bollinger Bands are pinching in. But we've had a nice, just a nice pullback, a slight little increase. We'll see how it goes. MACD, RSI, we're also entering into a squeeze here. So you can see we're starting to enter a squeeze on SPY. So that's something to definitely take a look at here, that if we get into this squeeze play here, we could get a break one direction or another. So something to definitely keep an eye on as we move through. All right, so I wanted to take some of these things off of the screen for you, and that's why I was looking here. Weekly, daily, I thought I had, there we go. I'm going to take some of these things off just to make it a little cleaner for you. So you can see here again, we are in a bullish PSAR move. Somebody was asking about the bullish PSAR setup. Really, I am using 0.02 as my acceleration factor. I hope that makes sense to anybody that's out there, but it's just the basic, for the most part, PSAR setup for me. Anyway, we are in a bullish signal. We are bouncing off the 21. Pullback on the day yesterday, just fractionally, but 476. Looks like things are down in the aftermarket as well. So we look to open a little bit lower. But MACD has been climbing. RSI was climbing a bit after, as it bounced up to 50. Now we'll see what happens. But the weekly has been tipping over. So I think if we get any more weakness today, that'll be 2 straight weeks of the MACD tipping over. We're heading into next week with that VIX expiration. I really think that could provide some downtrend for the markets. I don't know if it's going to be huge or not, but I think that's something to take a look at. NASDAQ, however, did move higher on the session. On the day, MACD, RSI keep heading higher. Now, again, we're down in the aftermarket trading, after hours trading, but still overall in pretty healthy shape. Looking at IWM, this little failed breakout, and looks like we have some weakness going on here. We have a gap down about a week ago, and we just continue to hold on to this 21. Broke it yesterday to the downside, and then we're looking, flat to slightly lower at the opening on Friday. But MACD and RSI have been heading lower, so this is good to watch and see if the IWM moves us lower. S&P S&P 500 stocks above their 50-day moving average keeps tipping over. I indicated this a week or two ago, 3 weeks ago, that this is an area where we typically see selling coming. So that's something to watch. Put call ratio, it's better to see this way. If this continues to go up, the market should continue to potentially go down. We've really broken this downtrend here on the put call ratio, and you can see it moving higher. As this thing starts to move higher in here, we'll even zoom in. As this thing moves higher off of this level, the markets will tend to sell off a bit more. So we'll watch to see if that actually comes true. Who knows? And then VIX on the session dropped a bit further on the day and looks to be popping just a fraction today, but closed at really another new recent low on the session yesterday at 1244. All right, U.S. dollar dropped on the session yesterday a bit, moving up in after hours here, and then the 10-year Treasury had another down session yesterday, where again I still think overall that we may see rates start to move sideways to up. I think the move is largely in for now on TNX. You got MACD rolling over, but RSI is still moving higher. And then I don't know that you can really put the underlying technicals in on the 10-year bond rates, but looks like from a weekly standpoint, we might be starting to reverse. So I think when we start to look at bonds, which we will, in fact, let's just jump into bond futures, which again, I think this is where everything is based right now. If the Fed cuts, does that affect bonds? I think the bonds have already priced in 100 basis point cuts. So when we look at the TNX, the 10-year, it's dropped from 50 to 40. So it's already based in a 100 basis points worth of cuts for the year. We're still at 525-ish for the Fed, but we've dropped all the way to 4s into the 3s here on the 10-year. I think that's going to be pricing in those cuts. So if we've already priced in the cuts and the bond market's rallied on cuts that haven't happened and the anticipation of those cuts, what if the Fed does not make those cuts? If the Fed doesn't make the cuts, bonds are going to run higher, which is going to take the air out, or I'm sorry, bond rates are going to run back higher and bonds are going to start to tip over. So I think this is where we really watch. Either way, I think there's a good yin and yang with this, and that gives us a good chance to maybe put some strangles or some other things on bonds. Because I think right now they're just going to oscillate sideways until we get some more clarity from the Fed. All right, taking a look at the Aussie dollar, it's down, really getting close to this 21 on the weekly, which to me would be a good trigger area for strangles. British pound, it was up on the session yesterday, down in after hours here as the dollar's rallying in after hours. We did have the 6C down yesterday, and we did have the 6E, which is the euro, fractionally down yesterday, down a little bit more today. So as the dollar shows a little strength, get a little weakness in Forex. And now oil just continues to, move sideways a bit, but I've been pointing out this triangle here. So this wedge, this triangle that we've been in, pretty much a symmetrical here. We got the breakout this morning. So yesterday we ran back to the top. We're holding this 21 today, which is after hours. We're starting to break to the upside. So oil starting to get its mojo going, and you're going to see a PSAR bullish reversal flip today, which is the Friday trading session in oil. So before the market opens, oil starting to rally pretty solidly in here. I am still very bullish on oil. I'm still heavily trading oil. I really like what it's doing here. And I think on this move, that should help us pay off a bit. So we'll keep an eye on where we are overall on the oil trades, but we have plenty of 112 trades working on oil. We do have a strangle, which is up 25%. We got another strangle, which is pretty much just flat on this. And I like where we are on oil. I think it's a bullish opportunity, or it's a good trading opportunity. If we're looking at gold, rallied a little bit on Thursday and a lot more in the after hours here heading into Friday. Pretty good up-day move on gold coming our way. You got MACD and RSI both reversing higher. So we'll see if gold gets its move on here. And the one thing I think we got to watch is this previous uptrend that we have. Does this end up being a resistance level, or was this just kind of a dip below and move back up? Still in a PSAR bearish trend for now. On gold, the weekly not looking that strong at all on gold, but getting a little bit of a bounce on the daily. Looking at copper, moved up fractionally yesterday, but finished way off its highs and is a little bit weaker in today's session. But you got MACD and RSI. We're trying to move higher on the daily, but moving lower on the weekly, which I think sets up a strangle really well for us. We're now up 30% in our newest strangle in 3 days. So 30% in 3 days, pretty good. I think we may look to take that off and we'll put on another one. We've been just doing this repeatedly in copper. bonds we've already talked about. Nat gas is just on a tear on the daily. So nat gas really starting to get moving to the upside. This thing has already hit a pretty good move off of these 2.3 lows up to 3.2 or so here. That's a pretty significant size move. Can it move more? Yeah, I think it can. So I'd be very cautious trading it in here. And if we want to take a look at live cattle, it's just sitting in this wedge pattern, this ascending wedge. We can break to the downside, we can move to the upside. But right now, the daily looks a bit bullish, bouncing off the 21 EMA. And the weekly has been reversing ever since this low that we put in back on January 4th. So there's where we are on the futures. I'm not going to cover sectors, not really going to cover any of the big names too in depth. But Apple down fractionally yesterday, maybe down again today. We'll see. Market's looking a bit weak. Microsoft had a pretty good update yesterday. We'll see if it continues to follow through as it breaks out to this new all-time, I believe it's an all-time high on it. So let's take a quick look. Let's look at the main chart, and we'll go back. It's not an all-time high for, we're on Amazon. I want Microsoft. So Microsoft, you're looking at setting some new highs, some new areas here. So it's bringing out this previous high, getting going here. So we're going to move our all-time high up a bit. So getting into the all-time highs now as of yesterday, we touched it briefly and then fell off of it on Microsoft, but 390.68. Let me get this adjusted correctly. All right, there we go. So 390.68 is all good. All right, looking at Amazon as well too, having a pretty solid day up. I think this thing's moved pretty quickly. I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a break, but MACD and RSI have been heading higher. On Amazon, Meta heading up, taking a little bit of a break yesterday. Google taking a little bit of a break after popping up even higher on the session. And then NVIDIA is just off to the races right now. And it moved up solidly yesterday as well. Maybe a little pullback today, a little break. But overall, those Magnificent Seven stocks are rocking and rolling. All right, let's take a look at what we had ended up yesterday on Thursday. 263 on our delta, which is a 0.6%, 0.06% to our net lick. Totally fine. They're pretty delta neutral. Say they dropped a tad to 766. It's just been a struggle on theta with the markets. Overall, net lick 408, 252, which is another new all-time high. So pretty nice update yesterday, giving us our 8th straight new all-time high in the portfolio this year. BP usage down to 237 after you subtract our bill, $41,000 in BP. We're sitting at really 48%, and we did put some trades on. And then we took in $240 yesterday. What was that? We'll quick take a look. This was our, it was a 0 DTE trade. So we did a 0 DTE trade. I put it on in the morning for 60 cents. The 48.30, 48.60 call credit spread, 60 cents. Took it off 15 minutes later for 30 cents. Nice 240 win at 50%, 1% on the capital that we used for that trade. So off and running on some 0 DTEs here. It's nice to just make an extra $240 in 15 minutes on the day. All right, and I think that pretty much gives us everything that we need for now. We are up to 96.70 on the month in realized, which is 2.44%, and we are up over 3% on our net lick for the month. We're up over 12,704. So pretty good jump, and one of our larger months here is a good start to 2024. And we're looking at pretty good in the market. Let's take a quick look, if you want, at pre-market. We can take a look at the account here. You can see we have quite a few trades on oil. Nothing really to do. The only reason this one's down is because it's a adjusted put debit spread that we've already adjusted once on this trade. So you kind of have to ignore the numbers here because Tasty does not keep up with the move. What's important to know, in my opinion here, is right now we still have, even though oil's up 231 today, and everybody got all worked up, even members in our own Discord, think that, oil's going to 60 and 50s, and look, Saudis are cutting. Guys, got to tune out the news. Tune out the news, because news is noise. Okay? You don't need to be stuck to your terminal. You don't need to be watching CNBC all day. In fact, turn all that stuff on. Stop reading stuff on Twitter. Just put your trades on and play the probabilities. We can take a look at some charts briefly to give us some idea of where direction overall is going. That's all I use those for. We have overall direction. Okay, but just trust your trades. So this trade's in good shape. If we closed it right now, okay, we'd be at a credit to close. So 12, so about a 3-cent credit times 4,000. So $120 till to close it, even though it's down today. That's a good trade. We're sitting here on a 112. We're sitting here on a strangle and a 112. We're sitting here on a brand new strangle that's pretty much flat in 3 days. We've got some trades coming off. So we have some FB trades coming off in ES today. So that'll free up some room. Not going to free up much buying power. And then you can see we have a mix of long-term and standard 112s, some hedges, all of those things according to our plan. Gold sitting on a 112 and a strangle. Copper, we're sitting on a 112 and a strangle. Live cattle, we're sitting on a 112 here. This one's up 102% right now, which is great. We're getting close to taking off the short puts on the NASDAQ. 112 here, we're up 84% in 21 days. And on bonds, we got a 112 here. This one's showing a loss right now, but I don't think these numbers are, maybe they're right. Mainly because I don't think this number's right. We shouldn't be down money on this one since bonds are up overall. But we'll take it. It doesn't really matter at this point. You're only talking $200 on it. But this trade's been on for 7 days. I like it. I like where we are. If we start to drop in bonds, okay, it's going to pay off for us. And if bonds continue to rally, we're going to be in good shape. So that's where we are. You get a little glimpse at the overall portfolio doing pretty well. You can see these are after our pre-market numbers. The biggest one will be taking a little bit of a hit in gold today. We're still up on this strangle, but this strangle, the call side is getting beat up a bit today, even though the overall strangle is doing just fine. It's only 3 days old, which is why it's a little bit more sensitive here. All right, there's where we are on the trades, and we'll keep moving. We've got some theta to play with. We have some buying power to play with today, so that'll be our goal. And then the small account, just to give you an insight of how the small account is trading. We closed today on Thursday, 17 delta, 28 theta, which is pretty much consistent of where the small account always is. Netlick 15,589, which is another new all-time high for this. So we've got another new all-time high on the small account. We're using about 7,800 in BP, which is exactly 50%. So this account is set up really, really, really well. We're perfect on the small account. We're up 1% in Netlick on the year. We have not closed any trades because we don't have a lot of trades running in the small account. We've got a handful of 112s, a handful of long-term 112s, nothing to close yet. So we'll be hanging in there. All right. Hope this was helpful to you guys. We'll see you in the markets on Friday. Stay safe, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.